Welcome to Garrison Auto Glass. This is our first tutorial video concerning a vehicle that we're working on. We have what's called a 2011 Dodge Challenger. It has a driver door glass broken out and the quarter glass broken out. Come on in the back with me and let's take an assessment of the vehicle before we actually get started working on it. Here we are. Here's the vehicle. Okay? And just before we get started, a lot of times we get people who will claim that we did damage to the vehicle before we got started on it, or, oh, the damage wasn't there before. In this particular video, what we're going to do is we're going to assess the damages, repair the damages, or what we can do, or what the customer actually paying us to do is just replace the glass. Okay? But again, just like I said before, we're going to assess the damages before we get started. First thing we see, or first thing I noticed offhand, was the damage caused right here. Okay? And usually this damage here and scratches here is caused from someone taking a screwdriver to break off into the vehicle. In which a lot of cases that's the easiest way to break the glass. Okay? Then secondly, we're going to look at another window. We're going to take an overall look. This quarter glass is broken out. But the only thing that's holding this vehicle, the glass together, is the tint, the aftermarket tint that they had put on after the fact. Garrison Glass doesn't install tint on the vehicles. We just replace the glass. We don't decorate it. Okay. Thirdly, what we're going to do is we're going to open the door and we're going to look at the inside. We're going to look at the seats. And we see that there's glass all over here. We're going to look at the seats to see if anything is wrong with the leather. We don't see any serious damage with the leather. We just see glass. We're also going to look in the back. Okay. We don't see any serious damage with that. All we see is, you know, food or juice or whatever. But that's something that we'll square that away for the customer. Okay. We've already assessed what's going on, and it looks like this is something we can go ahead and take care of with no problem. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is vacuum the car out. One thing, before we vacuum it out, we want to make sure that we're not working twice. Okay, the first thing we have to do, being side, we have to do the door glass and the quarter glass. It's all on the same side of the vehicle. First thing we want to do is we want to just go ahead and finish breaking that out, because that's going to be another mess as well. You have to be extremely careful taking this out, because you really don't want to scrape up the body of the car. Okay? I can't afford a paint job. Okay? So now that we got the old glass taken out, of the quarter glass, because this is what's called the quarter glass. Anytime a glass is in the body of the vehicle versus the door, it's considered, or what's called, a quarter glass. Okay? Now what we have is we have all the old glass cleaned out. Okay. Now it's time to start vacuuming. That way we're only vacuuming once versus twice. We got it vacuumed out. Okay, it was pretty extensive, had a lot going on, but we got like at least 97% of the glass cleaned out. Let's keep it real. I'm not perfect. There are a lot of things that I just don't see. Henceforth, that's why I'm saying I'm not perfect. Okay, but just before we completed and getting ready to give the customer their vehicle back, what we'll end up doing is taking a damp cloth, wipe the leather down, place the floor mats in the vehicle, make sure everything is good. Now, if you come around here, and we're going to assess the door panel. We're going to look at it, see if there's anything missing, see if there's anything inside the door panel. And right here, it looks like he's got screws and ink pens. Well, it's not screws, but just like it's got ink pens and things in here. And what we want to do is we want to make sure all of that is out of there before we get started. Okay. And now we can look at it, make sure there's nothing in here. But see, look right here, it looks like he's got glass debris in here. What I'm going to do before I even go any further is I'm going to hit it with the vacuum one time, and then I'm going to take a damp cloth to wipe it down to make sure I don't really jag myself up. Now that we wiped it down, made sure everything was clear, because the littlest pieces of glass are the ones that hurt the most. It's not the big ones. Okay, what I did was I just vacuumed it out and I made sure all of the loose and small glass debris is gone, or as much as I can. What I also did was I took an assessment of what do I need to do to get this door panel off. Okay, I was looking for little clip holes or plugs or whatever, and what I have to do is figure out what kind of tools I'm going to need. Okay, so what I did was figured out what kind of tools I need. I'm going to need my hook tool, my extended Phillips screwdriver. I needed my my 1/4-inch tip along with my sockets. You never know what size I'm going to need, and my screw gun. Okay, now let me go ahead and get started taking this door panel off. Okay. Okay, I always take the screws and put them right here on the floorboard. The reason why I keep them on the floorboard is just in case I'm working and I know where I'm putting all the screws. Okay, so that way when I get ready to put it back together, I know where all the parts and screws and everything are. Okay, looks like we got all of the parts off. Well, all the screws and fasteners off. And now it's time to take this door panel apart so we can assess any other issues. Okay. Okay. It's never a good idea to just snatch, because a lot of times there are fasteners on here that could be broken if you just snatch like whatever. Okay, so you gotta be very careful about what you're doing. Instead of you trying to get paid for doing the job, you can mess around, wind up owing the customer. Okay. Now we're going to take the door panel. We're going to shake it one good time. Hear that noise? It means glass debris or whatever is in it. See that? Okay. Okay. Now let's pull this off here. A lot of people cut this up and tear it up and just to get inside of the door panel so they can assess what's going on. I don't normally like to do that. I like to try to keep this on there. Okay, what I did was I pulled the panel off. I went inside and I vacuumed all of the glass that was inside of the door panel. Okay, so that way when you're shaking the door, it's not like maracas. Then I turned around and made sure there was no glass inside of the channel, because usually there's glass inside of the channel after the glass is broken. Okay, so now what I have to do is, for this, I already put the screw in to hold the glass in place. So when the glass goes up and down, there's no issue with the glass breaking. Over here, we have to do the same here. You have to make sure it's in the track. So what I can do is I can put the screw in. And what you want to do is you want to start it off by hand, because if you mess around and just take the screw gun and just start trying to screw it, it'll mess around and break the glass. We don't put it on a heavy torque, we put it on a light torque. So when it does it, we don't have to worry about the glass breaking. And it also makes it just snug enough for it to work properly. Now the next thing we're getting ready to do is we're going to put this back up. So when we get ready to adjust it and test it, we're going to make sure that the window rolls up and down properly. It also closes properly, and there's no issues with it after we put the door panel on. Okay, now we got it all put together. Okay, and just before we put the panel on, what we want to do is we want to make sure that the door closes properly. Okay, now what's going to happen is when we close this door, the glass is going to go up. It's going to automatically adjust. So when the car is driving or when the door closes, you don't have any wind noises or any debris. Now watch. See that? Now watch the glass. Now watch. That guarantees there's no seal leaks, no wind noises, no air or anything like that. Okay? Now all we have to do is put the door panel on, and then we're going to put the quarter glass in, and then the customer will be ready to go. Okay, basically what we did was we took the door panel off, cleaned it out, we installed the door glass. Now we put the panel back on, okay? Make sure it's unlocked, so if when we roll up the window, we can make sure that when we close it, it'll open back up. And no sense in having us close the door. Now we need a Slim Jim or something to get in the car. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a final test. Make sure we don't hear any glass shaking in the door. Make sure the door closes properly. Make sure there's nothing inside the locking mechanism or anything like that. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to roll up the window and let's see what happens. Okay, so far it's rolling up and down, up properly. Now let's go around, close the door, and we're going to listen carefully. Ready? We don't hear any glass. We're going to open it. Nice and snug. All right, now what we're getting ready to do is we're getting ready to go ahead and install this. Okay? But first what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and dry fit. Dry fit means basically we're just going to set it in there. Make sure it's the right side. Make sure it's the right fit. And make sure that when we get ready to put the glue in, when we put the glue in, all around the seal, it'll hold nice and snug. And it'll look almost brand new, as though we were never here. Okay. This is the box that the glass came in. Being how this is a Dodge has Mopar parts. Mopar. 9 times out of 10, it's going to fit almost like nothing ever happened. Okay? Let's dry test it first. Okay. Yeah, that looks like it. What we want to do is we want to get it ready. We're going to put the glue on it, snap it in, get a customer call, do one more test, and the car be ready to go. Now, what we want to do is we want to look at the glass carefully. We want to make sure there's no debris or anything inside, because as you can see, this is pre-primed. Okay, prime is like an agent used to help the urethane, the glue that I just put on the vehicle, adhere properly. Also, what we want to do is we want to look for any blemishes or any debris, so that way when I get ready to install it, it won't be difficult to get to clean. Okay, here has a little scuff right there, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to scrape it off, and then we're gonna go ahead and set it. Good thing for both of us, that's easy to come off, so that way it's no debris or any blemishes, and this customer has top of the line part. Okay, now let's go put it in. Oh yeah, another thing, see these little clips here? These are what's called fasteners. Okay, They go right into the hole, and it helps me guide on where it's supposed to go in the vehicle. Ready? And here it goes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the holes first. Okay.